Morgan, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, Gabriel. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course, I am living the dream.
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Well, the way I like to typically start these out is just to get a little insight into who Morgan is on the day to day.
Sure. Well, I live in Kansas City and I started, well, just a background of how I got into NFTs. I started following Gary about Vaynerchuk about 10 years ago. And I was sitting in a cubicle in a corporate job that I wasn't passionate about. And I was listening to him talk about one, kindness and empathy and compassion and do what you love. And I just fell in love with his message and who he is. And so that 10-year period has been incredible. And then last April, he sent out that Instagram post that said, "Hey, I'm bringing my community along. I have a project. I can't tell you about it right now. Just make sure you get at least zero point 0.5 ETH in a MetaMask wallet." And of course, I'm like, "What the heck is that?" So I Googled it, and then Team Gary sent out the directions of how to get it all set up. So it's been a great ride.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the NFTs ride this last year and a half coming up on now has been absolutely incredible for a lot of people. Would love to hear a little bit about like your experience as you were being onboarded. I know there's a lot of people who that is a very grueling process and trying to figure out what to do, what's a MetaMask wallet. What was that journey like for you as you were starting to get familiar with all of the technology?
Oh, definitely. And it could be scary and overwhelming. And I was so thankful because Team Gary put together like step by step. This is what you need to do. Go to Coinbase, buy ETH. I didn't even know what ETH was. I knew what crypto was, but not necessarily ETH. And so I learned I learned everything from the ground up from Team Gary and Gary Vaynerchuk. So I learned how to set up my MetaMask wallet and extension and how to connect it to Coinbase and how to transfer it and how to copy and paste your address, connect it to a website. And it's scary. I learned about gas fees. I didn't understand any of that
Mm.
before. And it's a lot to intake. But I was so thankful because I'm sure you were too in Veefriends Discord. It the learning is endless, and I wouldn't have been able to gone through all the steps without Discord and all the people in there, including community manager and the mods. So that's what helped me.
Yeah, I mean, the incredible support of the community is a big part of why I'm here and continuously sticking around, really, because there's so much to learn. There is an absurd amount that is changing on the day to day, and it's impossible to keep up with as one human. And so having the support of everybody else around us is critical to ultimately the success of us as individuals. Obviously, you're a big part of Veefriends. You're very favored in the NFT community and just the
Oh, that's
Veefriends
very
community.
nice.
We all
Thank
love
you
you.
so
We
much.
all love your message
Oh,
that you put out on the day to
thank
day.
you. That means a lot to me.
Um, would Of course. Would love to hear a little bit about some of the other projects that you've started to explore as, you're continuously getting familiar with this space.
Absolutely. So, Vayner Sports, I'm a big sports buff. So, it just made sense. AJ Vaynerchuk and Vayner Sports. And I love, and I really don't know much about it other than I purchased an NFT and I didn't even mint one. I missed the mint, but I got one on secondary market. So, I'm just learning more about that right now. And then there are so many projects that are on my radar. Moonbirds, Kevin Rose, I mean, he's an icon in the tech industry, and I know that he's just, his word is his word, and so Moonbirds is on my radar. And World of Women, I mean, iconic. I just want to be a part of that. And Creatures, and I could keep going, but yeah, those are
Hmm.
some top ones that I'm interested in.
So you said like World of Women, for example, you're like, I just want to be a part of that. What do you think causes that type of reaction?
I just think it's It's incredible to be part of a community that is inspiring women to be part of Web3, and I think it's inspiring because the ratio of men to women in tech and in crypto, and it's uh, it's not even. So I just think what it represents is amazing and inclusive, and I love it.
Why do you think that is? Because I would love to talk about this topic a little bit when it comes to women in technology. It's no secret that there's been like historics of, bro culture and things
Right.
of that nature, especially in like the software space. I work in SaaS, so I like get to see it on the day to day. Why do you think that is the case?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's from culturally, like how we were raised when we were little, of this is what girls do and this is what boys do. I don't know. Um, or just breaking down barriers and raising, just creating your own seat at the table, which I love.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this because, I mean, especially understanding and being involved in communities across multiple different projects in Web3, it doesn't feel like there's, and again, this is just from a guy's perspective, but
Right.
it doesn't feel like there's a lot of negativity or cynicism towards women entering this space, right? And so it makes me wonder that if there's just a stigma because historically there might have been in Web 2 culture, or what the case is, because I mean, you could probably speak to it better than I can, but like as a woman, I feel like it's relatively welcoming and
Oh,
even more so encouraged. Like you're empowered. It's as like, congrats, you like took the leap and took the chance and you're going to be rewarded from it as a woman, because we want more of you here. Frankly, most of you are smarter than us as men, and a
oh,
big part of the innovations are going to come from women, and so we need more of that in general, and it's going to be a big part of what pushes the space forward. So it's fascinating to me that it's not as adopted, or I don't know. There's like this negative connotation around just women entering the tech space.
I actually have felt more welcomed and supported by everyone in the community, men, women, it doesn't matter. It's been extraordinary and it gives me chills because we're all in this together. And that's the beauty of this. And I feel it just, we all want each other to succeed. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, where you've been. It doesn't matter. We're all in this
Mhm.
together. And that's what I love about it. So I felt encouraged from the get go.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know. I hope that starts to change. I hope that as this starts to become more mainstream, that people start to continue to see that through and through. And I think World of Women is one of those projects that, I mean, that's a big part of their mission. And I'm so grateful that we are a part of that ecosystem, whether we own one or not, and can
Absolutely.
start to see essentially history being made.
Absolutely. I mean, it really does give me chills. I have chills right now. So it's extraordinary.
Awesome. Would love to know a little bit about like your journey throughout Web3. What would you consider some of your biggest wins?
I think just becoming part of it in the early stages, it when I try to explain to my friends who don't who haven't like really delved into Web3, NFTs, they don't really get it. They kind of think it's a little, I don't know, maybe sketchy. I just feel honored to be able to be there from the beginning, and it's really because of Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, I wouldn't know what an NFT was without Gary. So I feel honored to be in this space and hopefully encourage other people. And I love having one-on-one conversations with my friends, and they're starting to be like, okay, how do I get into this? I'm like, get into Discord, get on Twitter, go look at OpenSea just to look around. If you want to, I don't know. I feel honored to be part here early. What about you?
Yeah, so how for me, um I mean, yeah, I would agree because I think I've asked this question a couple of times, and a lot of people think biggest wins is like on the financial side, and it only shows that we're still so early because
Mhm.
it's so much bigger than that, right?
Absolutely.
I told this story where when I was in college, I was sitting behind my desk and just super bummed because I knew I had all this ambition. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have been born 20 years earlier so I could be here for when the internet was created. Like, that's where Mark Cuban made his money. That's
Yeah.
where like all of these big tech tycoons like built their wealth, was by being early to that. And as somebody who's always been involved in technology, I like from 16 years old was working at Best Buy growing up. I immediately got into tech right outside of school. And I've been here since then. Just like, man, I missed out, and I was too young to understand that there are cycles, right?
Yes.
And when Gary reached out and was talking about how like what this
You see my dog.
Web3 tech NFT thing are, oh
My dog
puppy,
was hairy.
I love it. My dog's at daycare. I can't deal with him
I know
during
it's
the
hard.
day. um,
Yeah. So Gary,
but
when Gary reached out,
going
yeah.
back, yeah, when Gary was telling us about this technology, it like started to click, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. Like the more research I did, the more I like, 'cause just wanted to understand the technology. I'm like, I haven't heard Gary get this excited about something in a long time. And like
Same.
really since social media popped off, right? And I'm like, I really want to understand like what's happening here. And once I started to get even a decent grasp of it, nowhere near what I have now, it just made sense. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, this is that moment that I thought that I missed. There's no chance in hell that I'm gonna miss it again.
And
Um,
that's
and the
amazing. Isn't it the
timing,
best feeling?
the Oh, it was incredible. And the timing could not have been worse because I had just left one of my jobs. I had just left my tech job to go into another tech job, but I had a 2 month gap there. And so I was like, and I didn't have a great savings. So I'm like, just I have enough to live off of. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to mint this NFT? Luckily, I was able to scrap together like 2,300 bucks, and that
That's
was like the
incredible.
price of ETH at the time. And so I
Yep.
was able to get that ETH right before it took off and made a
That's
run to like 4,500. And so that was really the only reason I was able to get the V1 at the time.
that's
And so
incredible. And that's a
still,
story that you'll keep that with you forever. I mean, that means a lot, you know?
oh my
And like
gosh, yeah, it
you,
was it was one of the biggest risks that I had taken at the time.
and I'm sure like you, when
Obviously, it
Gary
worked out
said,
well.
yeah. So when Gary said, I've never seen him more passionate about anything. Like he's like, I promise you, and he doesn't like encourage people to like go get this and do this. And when he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, something big is happening. I'm all in. Like I
Mhm.
didn't even know what it was. I didn't understand, but I was like, I'm all in, even though I mean, to the financial ability that I could. So I was
Sure.
fortunate to get two core Veefriends, V1s.
Oh, amazing. I wanted to get two cores. The problem was I didn't understand the like what gas fees were. And
Oh
so
yeah.
when I had wanted to like we were doing a Dutch auction, right? So it was dropping
Mhm.
down to zero point 0.5 ETH, and it had hit like zero point 0.8, I think. And I had picked out the V friend that I wanted, the exact edition of that V. So it was a core, it's out of 20, right? And I wanted number one out of the 20. I'm like, if I'm going to get a
Okay.
core, I want it to be number one. And I found the V friend that I wanted. They still had number one, and I got anxious. I'm like, okay, I don't think I can wait until zero point 0.5. And I went to go mint it. I think I had a little over one ETH. Um, and so like I went to go mint it, and then I saw the gas fee was like $600.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. So I'm like, even if I waited until it got to zero point 0.5, I wouldn't have had enough to be able to
Right.
get two anyways. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to get the one that I want then
Heck
and have a
yes.
little left over. But by the time the
Right.
gas fees went through, because again, I didn't understand how to like manage that. By
I
the
didn't
time all
either.
the gas fees went through, I think I had spent like almost an ETH anyways. So
Wow. So did you mint yours on May 11th? What day?
I think it was the second day.
Me too.
Yeah, it wasn't the first day. I think it was the second day, but I didn't let it get all the way down to the floor, which, yeah,
Same.
maybe I should have, but
I
it
was
is what it
panicking.
is.
Did you wake up in the middle of the
Yeah.
night, early in the morning
Oh,
because it was
I
like 4 in
did.
the morning?
I was checking it every hour.
Yeah,
Um, just to find which ones were still available. I wanted the Adventurous Astronaut, but that one sold out like almost immediately, and I was bummed. I'm like, man, I wish I would have just bought it. But the the thing about like minting this project that was brand new technology, and we're still learning a lot about, the biggest thing was I realized Gary had never asked me for anything over the course of the few like 5 years that I had been following him. He had never
mhm,
asked me to buy anything. He never asked me to follow him. All he has done consistently is give, 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 just constantly
absolutely.
giving me value. And even in this one moment where he asks me to invest in him, he is still promising no matter what happens, you're going to get 3 years of a VCon conference, this big,
I know.
massive business conference, which I love conferences. And
Me
so I'm like,
too.
you get to be surrounded by like minded people
And
regardless, even if it goes to zero.
I
I'm
know.
like, doing the math, I'm like, okay, so that comes down to roughly like, I don't know, $700 to $1,200 a ticket per year. If like this is just purely for that, and I get nothing
Right.
else out of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't either. I was just doing it. I mean, Gary has never said, "Go do this." I'm telling you, I'm bringing my community with me. Go do this. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm in. I'm in." And it's been nothing short of, I mean, I've said it before, extraordinary. Everything he's taught us. I didn't know what a Dutch auction was. I mean, there's so many. I didn't know what Discord was or Clubhouse. And I mean, I wasn't really using Twitter at the time. I had it for sports just a little bit to follow Kansas City sports, but we just learned so much.
Yeah, no, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm beyond grateful for everything that I've learned over this last year.
I have to say one thing: meeting you at VCon and meeting everyone at VCon was the best. It was just, I've never felt the energy and the positivity and the we can do this. We all want each other to succeed. It was just extraordinary. And I keep using that word, but it just is how I feel about it. And so I
No,
just love meeting.
100%. There was no there was no other feeling. Like I've never felt WAGMI to the extent that I felt at VCon.
Exactly.
It is it was just such like words can't truly describe the feelings that I got by being surrounded by so many people that are all on the same journey together. We're all going through the same hardships. We're all trying to figure this thing out. And the types of people that are the like extremely early adopters are very like-minded and
Oh, yes.
being very curious and asking tough questions and trying to figure things out that like really just trying to build, right? And early on in this space, yes, there's a lot of financial incentive, but especially in the current moment, that's kind of being pushed to the wayside, which has
Mhm.
allowed us to really focus on what's important, and that's building the foundation for this technology. And you felt that a lot at VCon. I think the timing of everything that has happened, with this more bear market as well as VCon and us all coming together, could not have been more perfect.
I agree wholeheartedly. And we're just blessed to be in this space at this time, learning together and putting the financial thing aside. We're learning something so profound that's going to affect the world forever. So, cheers to us.
Yeah.
Cheers to all of us. And cheers to, and even Gary's like, we just need more adoption. That's what, in the Veefriends series too, when he brought in so many new people, it was, I mean, that's what it's all about. We need adoption. And it was great to have all new people joining the Veefriends family, even though you don't have to have a Veefriend to be in the family. But it's just great to see more adoption, people coming in, people wanting to learn, because that's what it's all about.
So speaking of like kind of the position that we're in right now, from a global standpoint, obviously it being more of a bear market, there's not a bunch of like gold rush mentality right now. So a lot of people have left the space because that was really the only reason that they were here in the first place. So at the end of the day, you would mention we need adoption. That's the only way that this technology becomes what it's supposed to be. So how do we get that?
That's a great question. I think just day by day, spreading the word, even if it's one on one or like what you're doing, having podcasts where people can actually go listen and hear other people's experiences and how they got into it. And it's not scary. It can be overwhelming if you're coming into it brand new. And so the beautiful thing is that we've all started from the ground up, and it's asking questions. There is no dumb question. I love people asking questions and really just asking, how do I do this? How does this work? How does this work? I mean, we're all here to help each other. So I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you're okay. I mean, it's true. It's scary to get into because the at the current moment it's such a complex technology that you have to know 18 different things in order to even like purchase an NFT, right? And that's if you go back 20 years to when the internet first started, that was kind of what happened there too, right? Like you had to know how to code in order to even get on the internet. And everyone was like, what the heck is coding?
Exactly.
So it is a very it's just a repeat of history, but we're at that just tells us how early we still are and how much more
Right.
building there is. So when it comes to like increasing adoption, I think there's a couple of things. One, now that we've gotten rid of this like financial gold rush mentality for the most part, at least at scale, it's going to allow us to start focusing on building those that foundation that will allow an easier onboarding. We need to
Absolutely.
have onboarding be simple and easy and intuitive. Like somebody needs to be who doesn't know anything about technology needs to be able to get on an app and buy something just like they do on
Absolutely.
Amazon, right?
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
not the case right now. The second thing is we have to give people a reason to, right? Like not just right now the reason was, oh, we want to buy it because we want to get a 10x ROI and it's an investment. And while some of those are going to play out, very few, but some of those will play out as great long term investments, um, the rest of them are going to be more focused around like, what do I get out of it as a consumer?
Mhm.
What is the utility behind it? Right? Like, is it a ticket? Is it
Right.
like access to this? Is it a membership to this? What is the reason that I'm buying this? And I
Yes.
think we're going to start seeing a big boom one in music. I think we're going to see a big
Same.
boom in fashion
Same.
and all of that being digital as we continue to focus and VR starts becoming more prevalent over the next 5 years. And it's going to like the timing of all of it is going to really start coming into play where it all kind of comes together and people won't
I
even
believe
know
so.
they're buying NFTs.
Yeah, it's there the utility, there's so much possibility that we haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible with an NFT. And when I'm talking to my friends and I'm like, okay, put the investment aside. You're learning like eventually every contract will be an NFT. So if you go buy a house, it'll be an NFT. The contract will be an NFT. If you go, like Gary said, on a flight, it'll be an NFT. If you go to a sporting event, it'll be an NFT, which they've already started in the NFL. And Thanksgiving, they did. So there's so much possibility. And if you get in now, you get to learn because eventually everyone's going to be in it. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's one of those things. It's so funny because you start to see the cycles of people who were the same people that wanted to get into the technology in like early social media days or early internet days. They were the early adopters and they're being so cynical about web3. It's like you've turned into your parents. You've
Yeah,
turned into
right.
your grandparents. You are no longer curious because you are just happy with the way the world is, and it's going to move and continue to progress forward with or without you.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of if you want to be along for that ride. And instead of getting hit in the face with all of these changes and you're like, I don't even know how to use like all of this new technology, similar to how some like grandparents can't get the hang of an iPad, right?
Right.
It's because they stopped paying attention. They stopped being curious as it was developing and following the steps. And it went so fast, and it's only going faster to the
Oh,
point where they can't catch up. And like even in like I'm still early in posting on social media, and people are commenting constantly. Like almost every comment is a joke about why this is like the stupidest technology ever,
right. Or a
and I
scam
love it. And
or
I'm responding with like curiosity questions and empathy, and like I'm not being hostile
right.
about it at
Right.
all. And it's really funny because they just keep like coming at you, and like I'll just keep responding with like very like friendly responses,
Right.
and just like, hey, have you thought about it like this? And then they just like dismiss it completely. But I'm like, I'm screenshotting all of these as
That's
references of
perfect.
back in 2022. These were the things that people were telling me when like it was very evident that this was going to be the next big technology. And I want to
Absolutely.
do that because I anticipate I'll be around for Web 4 and maybe even Web 5. And now I've got receipts of the way that people responded to that like big tech change early on, and why like this is a continuous cycle.
No, I agree. And it's just, I feel like in my lifetime, this might be the biggest tech in my lifetime. And so I'm all on board and trying to tell my friends, why not? Like you said, stay curious, go do your research, go on YouTube, look up NFTs and how it's going to change the world. And a podcast that I love was Tim Ferriss with Chris Dixon. I don't know if you listened to that podcast. It was
Mhm.
great. So I kind of here's a great. They talk about Web3, NFTs, crypto, and I love that podcast. So
I love the Tim Ferriss podcast. He is just so inquisitive. He's so well prepared. And I mean, the guests he has on are just phenomenal thought leaders. Um, I know a lot of people that aspire to be able to like ask questions and be as curious as he is. It's
oh
fantastic.
yes, yeah,
Um,
I
I'm curious how like what has allowed you to continue to stay curious? You know, you've like been through a little bit more life than I have, and would love to just hear like what do you think separates somebody who like even has been through the trenches and is still wanting to be curious from somebody who just decides that I don't like I'm not interested in like pursuing these new things or this new technology.
Well, I don't really know. I think it's just innate in who I am, but I just don't. This technology, I know it's not going away. I know this is just the beginning, and I know that I just feel fortunate to be here in the beginning and getting to watch it being built from the ground up. It really does. It's mind blowing to me that I get to experience this. We all do, but for me personally, I just feel honored and blessed to be here early. And I know that NFT technology is here to stay for good, for life. I mean, that's incredible. So I just, I love learning new things. And every day in the NFT world, Web3 space, it changes every single day. So you can miss one day, and especially on Twitter, Twitter and Discord, there's so much happening. And so I love to be a part of it. And I know it's not going away, and I'm here to stay.
I love that. What gives you that conviction both in like it's not going away and I'm here to stay?
I
What
just
is
think
it?
I don't know. There's something about this, and perhaps it's Gary from the beginning saying that this is the next big technology since the printing press. I don't know. It just something clicked, and I just know that it's here to stay, and I know that eventually every contract will be an NFT, and it's so cool. Excuse me, to be able to say I was there from the beginning, and not because of me, because Gary told all of us, said, hey, this is the next big thing. This is one of the biggest things you'll see in your lifetime. Let's go. So we're all just a
Yeah.
team doing it together.
No, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it really comes down to the community that like is a big reason that I continue to be here. It's funny as I'm a social butterfly. Like I've always considered myself an extreme extrovert in everything that I do. Like when I was in college, I was going out to the bars by myself just to meet new
Mhm.
people. Even
That's
now, I
great.
go to all of these conferences and just socialize and network, and I love it. Like I get energy from these things. People leave
Oh,
conferences like, oh, I'm
absolutely.
so exhausted. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. I have too much energy. And this technology and the sources that we're operating on, both in Discord and Twitter, have allowed me to do that at scale where I have access to people who are like minded. They think the same ways that I do. Their interests are very similar to me. Like we go to VCon, we all have something in common. We all own a VCon ticket, at least, right? And so
Exactly.
there's
Yes.
already these instantaneous connections where you can walk up to anybody and socialize and meet them and become really great friends and build these deep relationships. And so I've always been very like not on my phone, present in the moment, up until this last year, and now I'm like consistently in this world digitally. And my girlfriend noticed it, and she asked me like why are you spending so much time on your phone? I'm like, I'm hanging out with my friends. And
It's
it's the
true.
same way that people go in and play Fortnite for hours. They're hanging out with their friends. It's the reason we will spend more time in VR because I'm hanging out with my friends in Italy virtually, right?
No,
And
absolutely.
like that's just what this is becoming, is it's around like interest based communities, and you can feel like you belong. It's about the way it makes you feel is the reason that like
100%.
humans will continue to be attracted to it.
100%. It's like human behavior, and we are a part of a community, and you feel that. You feel that when you go to VCon, and it doesn't matter if you just met the person that day and you've never had a communication with them on Twitter or Discord. It doesn't matter. If you've been talking to them for a year on Twitter, you felt family, you felt community, and you felt like we
Yes.
just, it's a great experience and something I've never experienced in my life.
Yeah, I've never felt this type of belonging
That's a
like I
great way to put
do
it.
here, and it's just another reason that like I will continue to make sure that I'm not over leveraging myself to the point where I have to pull out of any of the like main projects that I believe in so wholeheartedly. Um, and even if I end up in that position, I have to pull it out for real life reasons. I know that I still am a part of that community through and
Absolutely.
through. I know that I still have these relationships. And that's something I've seen even more now is so many people are like, yeah, I had to sell this and I had to like sell this, but like I'm still a part of this community through and through, and everybody is just blowing them up like absolutely, we love you, don't ever
100%.
leave. Like
That also gives
you
me
are
chills.
here. Like the fact that you're even spending time here is the reason that like we want to continue to have you here. It doesn't We don't care what you own.
Exactly,
And
it
that's
doesn't
that's just
matter.
so pure. Like that's the purest form of community.
It is. And it's genuine and authentic and real and really just super cool.
It's hard to be like, it was hard for a little while on social media to not be authentic because people wanted to show off their lives, but then it started turning into, oh, if I show like these luxury things digitally, then it like makes it look like I have more than I do, or I'm flexing in whatever way. And there was a lot of inauthenticity. What I love about the blockchain is it's transparent. You
Yes.
can't hide. And I've
Yes.
had people say, "Oh, well, I can just screenshot it and put it as my profile picture, and it looks like I own it." I'm like, "Sure, like a lot of people do that, but the moment I go and look up what wallet has that, I can tell that it's not you, right?"
Absolutely.
And like that is the easiest thing to do. And so you have all this transparency, which breeds authenticity from a majority of people, and it allows the fakers to be exposed. And so you
Yes,
know who those
absolutely.
authentic people are. There's a track record of how you've behaved early on, Gary used to talk about like, oh, people were like, oh, you're just pumping these things so you can sell at the highest point and dumping them and whatever. And he's like, dude, like, just look at my wallet. I don't sell
Right.
anything. Like, I'm
No.
just buying things, and things like all the transactions are there. The
Which
history's
I
going to
love.
play out.
I
Yeah.
love that Gary kept reiterating, don't like look at my wallet, yes, but like don't look at my wallet and buy what I'm buying because I'm buying all kinds of things. So he's like, don't particularly go buy what I'm buying.
Well, it wasn't even just that. It was people were buying things at the time just for the financial return.
Right.
Gary was
Exactly.
not doing that. He was
No,
buying
he was
things
not.
for he was buying things because he believed in the project for the long
Yes.
term, whether it was financially positive or not. He was buying things because he wanted to support local artists,
Yes. And he
which
loved
at
the
the like
art.
that's out of his yeah, that's out of the control. Like he just loved the art, and we might
Right.
not like the art. We shouldn't buy it because we think, oh, that's gonna, have
Right.
10x. And
Right.
so there was that aspect, but also the things he was buying were for long term like benefits.
Absolutely.
He's like, I'm buying things for the next 10, 20 years. You're buying things for the next 10, 20 minutes.
Yes.
And like you can't be buying what I'm buying
No.
because I think this is going to go for the long term. And some of them
Oh,
played out well in the short term, but he wasn't buying it for that.
no, exactly. And that's why I think Veefriends, like I intend to hold mine for the next 45 years why he does build this IP
Hmm.
out. And I know he will.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to be a part of it. So I'm holding mine. And but I understand when people for whatever reason need to let theirs go.
Hmm.
Do that. Do
Yeah.
whatever makes sense for you in your life.
Exactly. There's so much negativity around selling, and it's such a
Right.
bummer because it makes people like again feel like they're gonna miss out or be scolded
Right.
for getting rid of their NFTs. But at the end of the day, like they're still a part of it. Yeah, they might lose access
Exactly.
to one Discord channel, but who cares? Like you still
Who
have access to
cares?
everybody on Twitter. You still have the general chat. Like you're
Yes.
still a part of that
And
community.
the Yeah, the fact
And
that we're here at this time, it doesn't matter if you have an NFT at all, but you're still
yeah.
learning.
Exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you of like outside of accidental circumstances, I plan to hold my NFT forever. Um at least until it gets to the point where it's like, okay, like I need to sell this
Right, right.
and take
No,
that ROI. Like I'm actually looking at trying to get another VFriend one while we're in this down market because there's
great.
like again, it's getting close to when like almost mint price, and like that's tempting because I know 6 months ago I would have said if it ever goes back down to this price
Yeah,
I will sweep one up, and now
right.
a lot of them are, but at the same time a lot of my ETH is down, so
I know. I know. It's hard.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah, so I don't look at it anymore. I'm like, I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm
Me
learning.
too.
I'm trying to find my place to be able to innovate and inspire and educate
Same.
and do my part in continuing to move this space forward.
Same. I love
Love
it.
that. Um, really quick, one of the last things that I want to touch on, there's a lot of people who are new to this space. They're still continuing to learn. You've been in here for a little over a year now. What is the best piece of advice you could give them in terms of maybe something that you wish you would have known when you first started that you learned along the way that maybe took a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year for you to learn?
I think one of the biggest things I've learned, it can easy you can easily move into FOMO, like fear of missing out. You want to get this drop, you want to mint this, but like we've talked about before, as long as you're in this space, get in a Discord. You don't have to have an NFT to get in VFriends Discord. You can get in VFriends Discord or other Discords. You can get on Twitter, you can get on YouTube, you can go to TikTok. You can learn about the NFT space and not particularly have the NFT that you're wanting. You can get that in the long run. It could be your goal, but you don't have to have what you're eyeing, the NFT per se, to be part of the community. So just to stay curious, just keep learning. Every day is changing. You're not behind. You're right where you're supposed to be.
Love that. Wonderful. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Morgan. I
Oh,
look
it's been
forward
my
to
honor.
I look forward to many years of being early and continuing to innovate alongside you.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. It's been an honor, and I appreciate you.
Of course. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.